It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Current Affairs program TMI, coming to you live from our Lagos studios on the ITV network. I am Joshua Okata. On the show today, we'll be looking at the insecurity going on in a place called Otukpo Adoka, right there in Benue State, to be precise. And of course, we'll be looking at the spate of insecurity with the recent attack on a commercial bus in Otukpo Adoka in Benue State, where the driver conveying that particular bus was shot dead, unfortunately, and the rest of the passengers have been whisked away to an unknown location. The issue right now is how soon will such kind of insecurity, such dastard act be put to an end? As much as we know there is a government in place, I'm talking about the executive governor in the person of Mr. Hyacinth Elias. What is it doing? What measures is it putting on ground to be able to forestall such occurrence from happening in the future? Are there collaborative measures that could be put in place alongside with the Nigerian police to be able to forestall such situations from reoccurring again? These are some of the issues that we will be discussing on the show this morning. And I have joining me right here is our guest in the person of Mr. Matthew Oluko. He is a social affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. Matthew, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, now my question to you is coming against the backdrop of the situation that happened on Sunday, which I just, highlighted a few minutes ago, where, gunmen suspected to be herdsmen attacked a bus, of course hijacked it because, the passengers aboard were taken to an unknown location. But the driver unfortunately lost his life in that situation. What's your take on this incessant attack in Benue? Initially, it has been a situation of clashes between farmers and herders. Now, it has gone beyond farmers. We are seeing cases where villages and communities have been ravaged, territories taken and under control of herdsmen. And as we speak, they are going into the highways, attacking supposedly travelers who are making their way through that particular city. What's your take on the situation?
I think it's in different dimension. Particularly, if you look at what happened, this is purely for ransom. So it's different from holding territories, and it's different from what came from the governor of Lagos recently, talking about Mufuang, who talk about genocide. So from this angle, I think this is purely for money venture. This is purely for business venture. Because if you have a situation where you empty a whole bus, all the passengers, take them into the bush, of course, it is for ransom and it's condemnable. But beyond being condemnable, we are talking about security of lives and property. We are talking about what shall constitute the primary purpose of governance. Because the constitution is unambiguous about it, that the security of Nigerians and their welfare shall be the primary purpose of governance. So any government that is failing in that direction, of course, have failed woefully. Even if the government recently, talking about the federal government, even the president himself made it very clear recently that they are going to take over all the forests, all the bushes. It's a welcome development. But I don't think there's any justifiable reason for bandits, whatever nomenclature they go with. You call them Lakurawa, you call them Malian group, call them whatever name, whether Boko Haram, the government ought to have monopoly of coercive power, able to police every inch of Nigerian sovereignty and integrity. That is what makes the government ultimate. Because the government is saying, don't be an arm as an individual. Everybody have surrendered to the government to protect lives and property. But looking at this very issue, there are so many angles to it. The former president of Nigeria, talking about Muhammadu Buhari, made it very clear that you have a situation where bandits come from different parts of the world, maybe through Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, into Nigeria. They take advantage of our porous border. For me, it's not an excuse. Yes, we may have porous borders. But as a government, you must be up to what it takes. You yes, you must devise a means to address the challenge. Because who said we cannot deploy drones to address this challenge? We have seen it work in different parts of the world, and it can work here. You begin to ask, the essence of asking Nigerians to register their SIM card, their phone number with name. What is the essence? At the point, we are made to understand that the authorities sanction communication industries that fail to comply with the registration. And all these were efforts made to checkmate kidnapping, or if when it happens, so that you can get to the person who may have collected ransom. Because by the time you are negotiating ransom, somebody who wants to pay ransom, somebody who is at the other end of the phone, perhaps in the bush, in the forest, is using a phone number that is supposed to have been registered. And you go through the record, that phone number should have an address, a name, a fingerprint. So what does it take government to get to the database, to get who is involved in the other side of the divide, negotiating for ransom, and arrest that person? And government, we hardly hear government say somebody who negotiated for ransom in the bush have been arrested.
Okay, now let's look at this case critically. You know, you said in your analysis that this is purely a criminal affair because it's about ransom taking. Now,
that is a particular one.
Yes. Now, what do you think the government, especially the federal government, can do? Because the issue of attacks by bandits is no longer viewed as a farmer and herder clash. Now they are taking it in a more brazen manner, entering the highway, attacking people who are conveying goods and services across the state for ransom purposes. The last time I checked, a certain group called IPOP was proscribed as a terror group. What is it that it has taken the government this long to be able to proscribe bandits as a terror group, considering the fact that they are going way beyond what we used to know them as farmers and herder clashes?
I think in fairness to government, they already proscribed Lakurawa group, though it took them, I think that happened under Muhammadu Buhari. It took them so much time before they could do that.
The question is, why did it take them that long?
When
it didn't take them exactly that long to prescribe IPOP as a terror group.
We all question the food dragon with which they approach it. But the question is, as a government, you must possess monopoly of currency power. Now, asking me how the federal government hope to solve the problem. The problem of Nigeria in terms of insecurity is long overdue. So it has been with us for a long time, to the extent that even the small child already know the solution. But implementation is the problem. We must rejig our security architecture if we must see results.
Talking about rejigging,
we must give the governors who go by the name of the governor and the chief security officer of their respective states some level of security power to parade. We must remove issue of security from the exclusive legislative list and put it on the concurrent list, so that both the National Assembly and State House of Assembly can have the power to legislate over it. Is it not even surprising that even the Amatekun of a team that was formed by act of State House of Assembly in the southwest of the country do not have express right to acquire arms? You must revert to the Office of National Security Advisor, who of course gives an extra certificate for people to bear arms at that level. But the point is, before we can get results, you must engage the locals. I think the Director General of DSS, talking about Ajayi, I salute his courage, because the other time he came out to make Nigerians know that at this level we must engage the communities to be the first line of defense in case of invasion. He gave two instances that happened in the past. I think one in Bauchi, one in Tafawa Balewa local government in the north, where the communities successfully repelled invaders. And according to him, those communities have never witnessed any invasion of that kind since then. So, to answer your question directly, we must rejig the security architecture. We must remove issue of security from exclusive list and put it in the concurrent list. And we must engage the locals.
Now, talking about proclaiming or prescribing this dangerous element called the bandit, a terror group. Are we likely to see that happen in the Tinubu-led administration, and how soon?
I do not have fear that Tinubu will not do that, because even the allegation of banditry that is levied against the chairman of Mietiala, talking about Bodejo, the military is under the custody of the military, and not pronouncing him guilty because he have not been indicted. In Nigeria legal system, what is innocent until proven otherwise by a competent jurisdiction. So it's just at the level of allegation. So what I'm trying to say in essence is, if the government of a Tinubu can host somebody on the basis of allegation of banditry, so I see the government are having the willpower to proscribe a group if they pose threats to the national security of the country. Particularly in this regard, because it doesn't matter how you look at it, the issue of Fulani militia is a menace to the society. Don't forget that even the Global Terrorism Index put Fulani militia of Nigerian extraction as the fourth most dangerous terrorist organization in the world. So I think we are dealing with a formidable group that the government must arise and deal with. Even the last former governor of Benue State, talking about Autumn, at the point he was attacked, and before you know it, a group came out to say, we are Fulani nationality movement, we did it. And up to today, it's not on record that anybody is under prosecution for that attempted murder or whatever.
Okay, now let's go into the crux of the matter. While we're still yet to see the security architecture of Nigeria rejigged, especially removing it from the legislative list to the concurrent list, the last I checked, we know of governors across states that have what we call security votes. In Enugu precisely, its security vote is about 33.3 million naira monthly. That's 333 million naira monthly, approximately 4 billion naira annually. We have Enugu at 600 million monthly. Annually, we have 7.2 billion. Now, in the eye of the storm, Benue State, as at few minutes ago, the record shows that they have the highest security vote to the tune of 37 billion naira annually. What is it taking the governor, the current governor in the person of Hyacinth Elias, to be able to put up a security structure more like something that will be done internally to be able to protect its state, given such enormous security vote that is available at its disposal? Is it the political will, or what exactly? Because information has it that while you are trying to address security issues, look at those at the profit end of it. So who is profiting from the insecurity going on in Benue State?
Let me quickly tell you that before you do that, you need to amend some relevant section of the Constitution. That is the truth. Under the last administration of Autumn in Benue State, under the administration of Fayoshi in Ekiti State, they had laws prohibiting open grazing. Don't forget that if you made laws, the federal police will be the one that enforce it. We have seen instances where the police will be reluctant in enforcing such law. But the truth is, if you empower the state to have their own state police, and there is a law by act of the State House of Assembly, and the agency that will enforce it is controlled by the state, I don't think they will be foot dragging in enforcing it.
What about when it comes to bearing arms?
Bearing arms is another issue. I made mention of the Office of the National Security Advisor having the power to give an user certificate to empower you to procure arms to fight this level of insecurity. That has not changed. So even if you go ahead, like we have Amateku, before Amateku can bear arm, perhaps AK-47, AK-49, you must need an user certificate from the Office of the National Security Advisor. Otherwise, the person will bear the arm illegally. We saw the late governor of Ondo State, Akere Dolume, so rest in peace. He was at loggerhead with the government of Buhari then, questioning if civilian JTF in the north can bear arm. Why should Amateku, that is the creation of State House of Assembly be deterred from bearing arms. The thing is simple. Even if you say the state governors are having security votes, that security vote you are seeing is just for the purpose of logistics to assist the security arrangement architecture already in place, which has the command and control from the federal government. I could remember Jonah Jang of Plateau State as a governor. He said as a governor, he did not command the fly. And that's because when you look around, the commissioner of police in his state, the director of DSS in his state, he do not command them. He do not control them. The command and control chain come from the office of the National Security Advisor. It trickles down, and National Security Advisor reports to Mr. President. I'm not saying that status quo should change, but what I'm trying to say is let us regime the security architecture in such a way that the governors should parade on security power and responsibility. The House of Assemblies should have the power to legislate on the issue of security. That's what I'm advocating.
All right, now let's look at the issue of Lagos. We are in Lagos, we reside in Lagos. As we have it today, we have various security agencies in Lagos, especially looking at it from an internal point of view. We have the Security Neighborhood Watch. It's a collaborative measure. Even if they don't bear arms, it's a collaborative measure. Taking it from the background that all crimes are local. So these ones could be like a collaborative effort to be able to give information or share information with the security agencies who are the enforcers of this law. Do you think such can be implemented, in Benue State, such that you can have your own security networks, even if they don't bear arms? They go about knowing who are those within communities that perpetuate this act, because these guys who run the states, I'm talking about non-state actors, have where they hibernate. The locals within those areas know them. So how about having a security network within the state from different local governments where they can be able to share information with the major mainstream security networks that enforce these laws? For example, the police.
I'm not saying that system is wrong, but the situation we have in our hands, talking about this banditry, is beyond what you have just explained. Because you have seen a group of people who have illegally invaded and occupied bushes, forests, without recourse to rule of law.
So you're saying when they invade, they occupy. That means they stay within the communities.
I'm coming. I have a video currently where you can clearly see some persons from Eka Northeast area of Delta State. That is the local government, the neighboring local government of my own local government in Delta State, the local government of the immediate past governor of Delta State. I'm talking about Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, where according to those people, you can clearly see some cash that they paid about 10 million naira as ransom. And according to them, those guys from their village were kidnapped from a community called Utokbo. They trekked in the bush for only God knows how many hours, but they find themselves in Edo State. At the end of the day, when they want to go and pay ransom, they travel miles away from Delta State to go and pay ransom. So you are talking of a formidable group of people. And according to the guy that was speaking, when they mentioned the area, the kidnappers or the bandits asked them to come and pay ransom, he said people were familiar that that is where they stay. Okay. So what I'm trying to say in essence is, you are dealing with a formidable group that is already armed, that have already taken some level of territories. Don't forget that someone like Toji Bello, who celebrated burning that liberation vehicle the other time, though the military said they are closing in on him. Don't forget that he has not been arrested even as we speak.
Okay, so now...
So the question is, if someone like Toji Bello, after wrecking that level of havoc, destroying national assets, is still working freely, I'm not saying the government is not making effort to arrest him, because one of the ministers said the other day that he's a working corpse. I understand that he was talking about maybe he will soon be neutralized, but it's not yet on record that he has been arrested. He's under prosecution and has been neutralized in the field, in the battlefield. So it's going to show that those who are in Zamfara are living at the mercy of his activities.
All right, to take your final words home, because we are really pressed for time, what is your take as regards what could be done at the very barest minimum, especially to bring safety to the lives of people living in Benue State? Briefly, as we roll.
It's very simple. Get everybody involved in the security, from the community to the local government, to the senatorial level, to the state level, and federal government.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matthew Okulu, for giving us your 2 cents on the matter. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's our offering for you this morning from our Lagos studio.